This young man was so overprotective, he practically locked his grown sisters away from the world. No parties, no boyfriends, no freedom. But just when he thought he had it all under control, fate turned the tables. What happened next will leave you speechless. Hello friends, welcome to today's amazing movie. It's full of drama and very educational. You really don't want to miss it. So grab some popcorn and let's dive into this fascinating story. The movie begins with a young, beautiful lady who is in a car with her boyfriend. She asks him to drop her off at her house, but he insists she go home with him instead. When she tries to explain her reasons, he becomes angry and tells her to get out of his car. She's surprised and confused, trying to make him understand that she has nowhere else to go, but he forces her out anyway. As she gets out of the car, looking stranded and helpless, another car suddenly begins to chase her. Terrified, she runs for her life, only to realize with shock that it's her elder brother driving the car. A few minutes later, they arrive home, and he angrily yells at her to go inside. The next morning, Gozi is in his room when his three sisters come in praising him. He asks Ak about the dress she wore the day before, but she tells him that it suddenly went missing. Then, CHIOMA pulls out 3 dresses and hands them to Gozi, which surprises Nak greatly. Gozi scolds them and tells them not to go anywhere, reminding them they have a test. After he shouts at them to leave his room, they keep pleading, but he stands up and leaves, while the sisters begin arguing among themselves. Later that day, Gozi is on his way to work, speaking on the phone with his brother Lotana, who is pleading on behalf of the girls. Gozi refuses to listen, then cuts the call as he receives a business call from a customer. The next day, Gozi questions the girls about the missing sanitary pad in their room. Based on his calculations, it shouldn't be missing. He then asks them when they last had their periods, but none of them gives a clear answer. Gozi concludes that one of them must be pregnant. Shocked, the girls begin arguing, insisting they are not pregnant. Gozi tells them to get ready because he is taking them to the hospital. A little later, all the girls are in the car, arguing about who might be pregnant and asking the person responsible to speak up. When Gozi enters, NK and Amara angrily step out of the car, surprising Gozi. CHIOMA explains the situation to him. 2 days later, NK is chatting with her friend about how her brother has always supported them since their parents died. As they talk, her phone rings. It's Gozi calling to pick her up. She gives him directions. A few minutes later, Gozi arrives and knocks at the door. NK quickly opens it and introduces her friend to him. Gozi stares at her in silence for a moment before nervously stammering a greeting, something unusual for him, then leaves. Later at home, Gozi tells NK he will be traveling. NK starts dancing in excitement, but when Gozi turns back and sees her, she quickly stops and pretends to be emotional, asking how long he'll be gone. When Gozi says 3 days, she reacts with exaggerated shock, asking, only 3 days? Gozi is surprised and asks if she has a problem with that, but she pretends that she's just going to miss him. Back inside, NK runs to share the news with her sisters, and they all get excited. Just then, Lotana enters the room. They quickly pretend to be sad again, but when they realize he has already seen their excitement, they stop pretending. Not long after, Gozi knocks again. NK opens the door, and the girls start pretending to cry about how much they'll miss him. Gozi becomes emotional and asks them to follow him so he can buy them something, leaving Lotana speechless. The next day, Gozi visits NK's friend's house to collect some books. Again, he finds himself stammering, which is very unlike him. It's clear something is happening. Incredible, right? The following evening, Lotana is in the living room watching football when Gozi joins him. Gozi tells him to calm down and then starts talking about NK's friend, admitting she is very beautiful. Lotana is shocked since Gozi has never complimented a girl like that before. They continue chatting. The next night, NK is in her bedroom dressing up to go out when Lotana comes in and compliments her. This leads to a conversation where she complains that Gozi never lets them have any freedom. After they talk for a while, she leaves. The next evening, NK is lying on the bed with her head on Amara's lap, feeling sad because her boyfriend has just broken up with her. CHIOMA is unhappy about it because she thinks they should be enjoying life while Gozi is away and not watching their movements. NK. feeling uncared for, jumps up and asks if her sisters don't care about her. After a brief argument, she tells them to go get dressed, and they all hurry off to get ready to go out. The next morning, the girls returned home completely drunk, talking nonsense. Lotana quickly came in and signaled them to be quiet, but they were too intoxicated to notice. Just then, Gozi entered. The girls were shocked to see him. They hadn't expected his return. Heartbroken and deeply disappointed in them, Gozi scolded them and chased them upstairs. As Lotana tried to calm Gozi down, Gozi turned his anger on him too, blaming him for not keeping an eye on the girls. Lotana, on his part, tried to explain that the girls were no longer children and should be allowed some freedom. 2 days later, NK was chatting with her friend about Gozi's constant monitoring, complaining that his strictness was preventing her from getting a serious boyfriend. Unexpectedly, the friend asked if NK would be her boyfriend. NK was surprised and immediately refused the idea. 4 days later, NK, Amara, and CHIOMA were waiting for their brother. When he came upstairs, they all began pleading with him to let them go out, saying they had been locked indoors for 4 days. Each of them gave different excuses, but Gozi refused to allow them. Right then, Kat came up with an idea. She told the other girls that they needed to find Gozi a girlfriend who could keep him distracted. At first, CHIOMA and Amara weren't on board with the plan, but eventually it started to make sense to them, and they all agreed. The following day, the 3 girls began making arrangements and did some research to find the right girl. The next day, a young and pretty lady was sitting with them in the living room. Amara and CHIOMA tried to convince her to marry their brother. They talked for a few minutes before ending the conversation. 2 days later, the girls were seen thanking the same lady for agreeing to marry their brother. Clearly, they were very serious about their plan. At that point, the narrator asks, "What do you think about Gozi?" Later, the lady went into the kitchen to get Gozi some fruit juice. Standing close to him, Gozi asked whose friend she was. She told him she was Amara's friend, then walked away. That same night, while Gozi was asleep, she entered his room to seduce him. Gozi resisted her multiple times. When he saw that she wasn't giving up, he excused himself to the restroom, leaving her alone. The next morning, the lady got angry, packed her things, and left the house. The girls were surprised when they heard what had happened between her and Gozi. Even though they tried to convince her to stay, she refused and left. Things were definitely getting more interesting. The next day, the girls brought another woman to the house to finish the job. They welcomed her warmly and served her food. That same day, CHIOMA was in the kitchen doing the dishes when Inkat came in to get something. They began chatting about the new lady. CHIOMA expressed her belief that this one would do better than the last. While they were still talking, Gozi came in, interrupting their conversation. He scolded them about the type of friends they were bringing into the house. Then he told Nkak to bring him cold water. Later that night, the new lady was in the living room with a young man, feeding him as they talked about how much they had missed each other. Gozi walked in, shocked to see them. He asked her what she was doing and how the guy had gotten inside. After a lot of arguing, the girls ended up chasing her out. Weeks passed, and despite the setbacks, Enka, CHIOMA, and Amara didn't give up. They brought yet another woman into the house. However, this particular one almost got them into serious trouble. Without wasting time, they also sent her packing. The next day, Enka was chatting with her friend about her brother when Gozi came downstairs. Seeing her, he started stuttering. Nkag was surprised and asked if he was okay. After that, he left for work. From his behavior, Ek had a strong feeling that Gozi liked her friend. She laughed and told her friend to help her, but the friend refused. Later that day, Nkai and CHIOMA were having lunch in the living room. Nkak told CHIOMA what had happened. They both went to the kitchen to drop their plates while continuing to talk about how to convince Isokin, Nkag's friend, to help them. CHIOMA then suggested they go to her place and plead with her. Nkag agreed. It was a good idea, and they were curious to see what would happen next. The following day, Nkak, CHIOMA, and Amara were seen kneeling down, pleading with Isokin to help them. It wasn't easy, but she finally agreed to help, on one condition. It would only be for 2 months. The girls hugged her excitedly. 2 days later, Isokin was already at Gozi's house. She cooked and served him a meal. Gozi was surprised to see her and began stuttering again. Isoken, unimpressed, told him to stop it since she knew he didn't normally stutter. Then she told him to come and eat. Gozi couldn't stop staring at her. That same day, Gozi pulled Enke aside and asked why she didn't inform him that Isoken was coming. He also asked her to help him choose a perfect outfit to wear. Enke was surprised but agreed, on one condition, that he would stop monitoring her for 3 full days. Gozi was shocked. That was something he would never normally agree to. But did he really have a choice? After some hesitation, he agreed, but only to 1.5 days. Enke finally agreed to help him. The next day, as Gozi was about to go out, he appeared a bit confused and asked CHIOMA where Enke was. CHIOMA was surprised by his question. After some conversation, he asked her, what kind of gift would a woman want? CHIOMA, again surprised, eventually realized it was about Isoken. She agreed to help him, but only on one condition, that Stanley, their driver, must stop embarrassing her and following her around. It wasn't an easy decision for Gozi, but since he really wanted help, he agreed. CHIOMA then went inside to confirm Isoken's preferences. It turned out that Isoken liked men who knew how to cook, so Gozi was later found in the kitchen trying to prepare a surprise meal for her. He nearly burned down the kitchen until Isoken came in and rescued him. Definitely a funny moment. Later that day, in the backyard, Isoken chatted with CHIOMA. That same night, while Gozi was in the living room working on his business, Isoken joined him, wanting to know more about him. Her intense gaze made him shy, and after a short chat, they got more comfortable. The next day, everyone was in the living room playing a game. A week later, Gozi and Isoken were getting to know each other better and had already started dating. That same day, NK was in her room getting ready to go out when Amara came in angrily, complaining that Gozi hadn't picked up any of her 15 missed calls. NK tried to calm her down and reminded her that this was exactly what they had planned. She told Amara to get ready so they could go to the club, though Amara was still clearly upset. 2 days later, Gozi was seen outside the house chatting with Lotana about Isoken. He admitted he had fallen in love with her and wanted to marry her. Lotana was surprised, as Gozi had never liked a woman this way before, but he was happy for him. The next day, Gozi and Isoken were in a room having a deep conversation that led to them almost kissing, until CHIOMA knocked on the door to tell them food was ready, interrupting the moment. Meanwhile, Enka had been calling Gozi to come pick her up. Her boyfriend had broken up with her and left her stranded. But Gozi was too caught up with Isoken to notice the calls. The next afternoon, NK was in the living room watching TV when Isoken came to chat with her. But NK ignored her, stood up quietly, and left the room, leaving Isoken feeling puzzled. The following day, Gozi was in his room on the phone with Lotana, discussing his plans for Isoken. However, something surprising was about to happen. Enk, CHIOMA, and Amara were in the living room watching TV when they noticed Enkak seemed upset. She then opened up about her feelings, expressing frustration over Gozi and Isoken's relationship. She said that Gozi didn't care about them anymore, and the others agreed. As they were chatting, Isoken walked in and overheard them talking badly about her. This led to an argument. NK, in anger, spilled out everything she had been holding in, not realizing that Gozi was already standing there, listening. Gozi felt hurt and betrayed. He wasn't happy at all. In response, he decided to divide the house and property, saying if they wanted freedom, they could have it. He then turned to Isoken and thanked her sarcastically for pretending to love him. He asked all of them to leave, but despite their apologies, he walked away because they still refused to go. That night was devastating for everyone as they cried over what had happened. The next morning, Gozi was seen at Lotana's house. Lotana told him that his sisters were worried and asked him to at least go back and hear them out. But Gozi was still angry and refused to listen. Later, Enk was at Isoken's house chatting with her. She noticed that Isoken didn't seem well and asked if she had visited a hospital. After talking things through, they embraced and became friends again. 3 days later, while the girls were standing at the doorway, Gozi came in. Shocked, they followed him, apologizing and promising to obey him without question. They pleaded with him to stay with them. Gozi told them to sit down, and then he spoke openly, admitting that he had always made decisions for them and never allowed them to do what they wanted. After a heartfelt conversation, they finally understood one another and embraced. The next day, as Gozi was about to leave the house, Isoken ran to him, begging for forgiveness. But Gozi told her he held nothing against her and asked her to let him go. Then he left. That same day, when he returned from work, Isoken was still at his house. She apologized again, but Gozi walked away, saying he didn't care. Isoken confessed her love for him, but he didn't respond. Was this really the end of their relationship? Later that day, Gozi went to Isoken's house to find out if she had meant what she said. In response, Isoken angrily but passionately confessed her love again. Gozi then opened up as well, and the two went into her room together. Meanwhile, NK and CHIOMA arrived and were surprised to find the door open. They stepped in, and soon after, Isoken came out to meet them. NK explained that they had come to thank her. Not long after, Gozi came out, awkwardly dressed in just a cloth tied around his waist. Embarrassed and confused, he quickly went back inside, while Ak and CHIOMA burst into laughter. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe for more captivating and dramatic movies from us. See you next time.